On MLK, the thing that's interesting about the King family is they don't seem to want this disclosed. And
Yeah.
what I find fascinating about that is that it at least what we've seen so far that has come out over the years doesn't paint maybe the best picture of the lifestyle that Martin Luther King Jr. was living. Do you think
Yeah.
that that's what they don't want out, more of that?
Yeah, I suspect that's correct. Look, because the government was heavily engaged in monitoring MLK, right? So you're talking about a lot of transcripts, wiretaps, again, some that were authorized by Bobby Kennedy. There's a lot of information there that could speak to atmospherics, to lifestyle, to activities, to associates, that sort of thing. And so I suspect that that's why they're saying, put on the brakes, let the family review the information first, which is, one of the lines that they've taken before it gets disclosed to the public.
So, because I know that there's a lot about the murder weapon potentially not matching the bullet, or that's the forensics and the logistics of the assassination versus whether the FBI has more personal information on his lifestyle that they don't want out.
Yeah, and I think that again, from a disclosure perspective, I think the mechanics of it, the logistics of the who done it, will be less satisfying. And I think again, there'll be more information in there because of the way the government was monitoring MLK. I think there'll be more information about that the family would be concerned about. Yeah. But let's face it. I mean, I do think that there's some real concerns over that assassination in terms of the idea that it was just one failed low-level criminal, who couldn't keep himself out of jail because he couldn't even commit a petty crime without getting arrested.
Right.
And suddenly he goes off the radar screen, for a few months beforehand, and then surfaces looking like a university professor, and then afterwards ends up in Europe where he gets arrested finally. Look, I just think there's things here that need to be further examined. And I guess what I'm saying is, of those three, that would be my top priority, because I just, from an investigative standpoint, I look at it and I think there's a lot of gaps here that could be examined further.
All right, I want to go down another rabbit hole with you, and then I do want to talk to you about UAPs, because this is. But Kash Patel's up for FBI director. He did an interview that I think is fascinating because of how he framed some of this. But you'll see what I'm getting at the end. Let me play you the clip.
The problem is the things that we can't release have nothing to do with the questions you guys are asking. That's about as far as I can go on it. But like the answers you guys want, you pretty much have them. There's very minimal stuff that can't be seen for things that you wouldn't even think are related to that.
Why can't we release them?
And you're thinking temporally, like, did it stop back then? Right? The way intelligence works is you're always developing it. Where did I get that? Where did that go? Oh, hey, I found that guy 5 years ago. Let's go talk to him. Where does that get us? It's a little bit bigger of a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, it's the same. Look, so the 7 pages of the 9/11 report, yes, overnight, that needs to come out. I'm telling you, that's got to go. And there will be some people that are pissed off.
All right, so Mike, we talked about JFK. We talked about the JFK, and I kind of agree that maybe it won't be as sexy that what's gonna come out. What intrigued me about that was 9/11, and I didn't even know that there were 7 pages that we haven't seen. What could we possibly know? And also, how does Kash see all this stuff?
Yeah, I've seen that interview before, and look, it has that same feeling that you always kind of see, whether it's at a committee hearing up on Capitol Hill or the UAP hearings. I know stuff, I just can't tell you stuff, and there's stuff, but I can't tell you where it is. Right? It's always down that line, and so. I take all those comments, whether it's from Kash Patel or anyone else, with a grain of salt. I don't necessarily buy that he's seen it all. That might be a somewhat broad overstatement. So I don't know, but it is. With Cash, with Tulsi, I think they're extremely bright people. There's no doubt about that. Again, I would say as they go into these positions, I assume they'll probably end up in the slots that we've been talking about. I would just caution them to step back and go, okay, let's do this in a smart, operationally efficient manner here, right? It's a little bit like what we've seen over the past few days, where there was a supposed purge at USAID. You know what? You know what you need to do? You need to get your messaging sorted out, right? Say that we're going to review every dollar spent by the U.S. government with a fine-tooth comb. Say we're going to be very methodical about this, right? And then go about it in that manner. Don't go into buildings, rip down signage, say you all got to get out, and then lose the goodwill of all the people who probably wouldn't say, yeah, I think you should be looking with a fine-tooth comb at every dollar. Right? So I guess what I'm saying is, going into the intel community, going into law enforcement, let's do, maybe we should be doing the same thing. We need to address some of these issues that we know exist, whether it's over politicization of the organizations or not. But let's do it in a smart, efficient, effective manner. Right. And so that's, and when I see, any interview with Kash Patel, I always kind of worry that, he's going to go in there and think, well, the way to do this is to, put a torch to it.
Mike Baker, host of the President's Daily Briefing, colleague here on the First Television Network. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable insight you have to offer. Thank you.
No, I appreciate it. Really enjoyed it. Thanks.
You bet. Guys, tomorrow, Jim Jordan's going to be on the show. Friday, we've got Jessica Reed Krause, the founder of House and Habit, an amazing newsletter with great content that's out. Big stuff coming down. We're always going to keep an eye on these nominees. Always feel free to go to my Substack. Today it drops, SeanSpicer.com, my free newsletter. Always behind-the-scenes content, photos, you name it. SeanSpicer.com. Sign up today and get it for free. Always love a VIP member, of course. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.